The Pokemon trading card game was originally released in Japan in October of 1996, over 2 years before it came over to the West. As the game evolved and more expansions became available, players across the world noticed that the top-level tournaments were being won by the same group of cards, which included overpowered Pokemon, broken trainer cards, and centralized deck archetypes, which resulted in little variety in the metagame. The game designers knew that they had to do something to shake up the increasingly stale metagame, so in 2001, after the introduction of the Generation 2 expansions, Japanese tournaments shifted to a new format that would limit the power of some of the strongest cards in the game. This would be known as the Hall of Fame. Hello all, I am the Holland Phantom, and for today's video we're going to be exploring the Pokemon TCG Hall of Fame format and how it has evolved into what it is now. So let's start off with a quick history. The original Hall of Fame format was used back in 2001 after the introduction of the Neo sets in Japan. Like the rest of the world, Japanese players were struggling to find diversity in the metagame, as the decks increasingly focused on using big basics and overpowered trainer cards to win games. Now, outside of Japan, Wizards of the Coast, the original distributor of the Pokemon TCG in North America, attempted to limit the power of these decks by implementing the Prop 15-3 format, which stated that only 15 trainer cards could be used per deck, and copies of any one card were now limited to 3 instead of the usual 4. This format was only used in a single time in an official capacity in the 2001 East Coast Trainer Showdown. Although Wizards of the Coast had good intentions to try to encourage more deck variety with this new format, it didn't quite go according to plan, as the top performing decks still featured the same old cards as their core. The Prop 15-3 format was scrapped, and then the next step was to announce the first rotation in the game's history, phasing out the base set through fossil expansions, which got rid of some of the most powerful trainer cards in the game. And the resulting format is now known as the Team Rocket through Legendary Collection format. However, back in Japan, something totally different was happening. Although Japanese players faced the same issues as the rest of the TCG world, the Pokemon Card Laboratory, which is the designer of the TCG, created their own restricted format, which then became known as the Hall of Fame format. The name came from a group of cards known to be much stronger than the rest in the format, and because of their power and repeated success, they were placed into the Hall of Fame. The original Hall of Fame was first seen in the Japanese Trainer Magazine Volume 10, released on March 1st, 2001, and was played in the Pokemon Card Battle Neo Spring Road Circuit. In this format, each card in the Hall of Fame was given a rank, indicated by a number of stars between 1 and 3, with the weaker cards having 1 star, and the strongest cards having up to 3 stars. As we can see here, the strongest cards in the format were Blastoise from base set, Wigglytuff from Jungle, Erika's Jigglypuff from Gym Heroes, and Sneasel from Neo Genesis, with each of these cards having a 3-star ranking. In the 2-star rank, we have Electabuzz, Hitmonchan, Chansey, Super Energy Removal, Item Finder, and Double Colorless Energy from base set, Clefable and Scyther from Jungle, Magmar and Muck from Fossil, Imposter Oak's Revenge from Team Rocket, the Rocket's Trap from Gym Heroes, and Rocket, Zapdos, and Chaos Gym from Gym Challenge. And in the 1-star rank, we have Energy Removal and Last from base set, Aerodactyl from Fossil, Mr. Mime from the Vending series, a Japanese exclusive set, and Cleffa, Goldberry, Darkness Energy, and Metal Energy from Neo Genesis. The way these rankings work is that each deck built for this format is only allowed to have up to 4 stars worth of cards. So as we can see in these examples, a deck would not be able to have both the Wigglytuff and a Sneasel in a deck because their star rank adds up to 6 stars. Or an Electabuzz and Blastoise could not go together because they would add up to 5 stars. However, it is possible to have 4 energy removals, as they add up to exactly 4 stars, or you could even mix and match, like in this example, using 1 Cleffa, 1 Goldberry, and 1 Chansey, as they also equal 4 stars. Seems simple enough, right? This style of format proved to be popular with Japanese players, but was short-lived, as it stopped being supported a few years later. However, in 2012, Japanese players looking to revisit the retro formats revived the Hall of Fame, and modified it to fit the more modern metagame, and eventually in 2014, a new Hall of Fame system was implemented by the player Shiro Neko, with updates continuously made to the list to adjust to the evolving meta landscape, and most notably, increasing the star rank limit from 4 to 8, giving more space to give certain cards a more accurate placement in the Hall of Fame, and allowing players to use more restricted cards in a deck. Also important to note that the new Hall of Fame only uses what are known as old back cards. Now let me quickly explain what this means. This is the back of an English Pokemon card. It's been the same since the beginning of the game. And this is the back of a Japanese Pokemon card. However, it wasn't always like this, as the original card back looked like this, which was a design used between 1996 and 2001 before the introduction of the e-reader sets. So modern Hall of Fame tournaments are only played with the old back cards, which include the base set to Neo Destiny sets, along with some special cards and promo sets released along the way. Here is the most updated version of the new Hall of Fame as of July 22nd, 2023. At the 8-star rank, we've got Dark Vileplume from Team Rocket, whose Hay Fever Pokemon power has been deemed too strong as it shuts down all trainer cards from being used. There's also Sneasel from Neo Genesis, whose beat-up attack can take one-hit KOs on nearly everything in the format. Birthday Pikachu and Great Rocket's Mewtwo were originally not intended to be used in real gameplay, but since the new Hall of Fame format isn't official, it has been decided these cards could be used, so let's take a look at them. The Birthday Pikachu card was actually released as an English promo card, and its attack Birthday Surprise would deal 30 damage, plus 50 more damage on a coin flip if it's used on your birthday, though for the Hall of Fame format, players get to use the effect every day. And then there's Great Rocket's Mewtwo. This card was only released in Japan as a promo with the Game Boy Color game Pokemon Trading Card Game 2, Invasion of Team Great Rocket, where it played a major role. This Mewtwo has the Pokemon power Dark Wave, and when one of your Pokemon with Dark in their names would attack, the player would flip a coin, and on a heads would get to flip a second coin. If both flips were heads, the Pokemon's attack would deal 20 more damage, and if only the first coin flip was a heads, then the attack would only deal 10 more damage. This ability couldn't stack, meaning that even if the player had more than one Great Rocket's Mewtwo in play, they could only use one Dark Wave Pokemon power, but even on its own, it greatly increases the attack power of Dark Pokemon decks. Skipping ahead, there are no cards with a 7-star rank, so in the 6-star rank, we have Aerodactyl from Fossil and Erika's Jigglypuff from Gym Heroes. Jigglypuff retains its high ranking, as it would enable quick and cheap KOs in the beginning of the game, so it was restricted to one copy per deck, and Aerodactyl jumped up in the rankings as its prehistoric Pokemon power has been deemed too oppressive, as it locks out all evolutions from being played. In the 5-star rank, we have Vending Series Mr. Mime, jumping up from the original rankings. This Mr. Mime has been recently reprinted in a Classic Collection set, and has the Pokemon power Dampening Shield, which would negate all weaknesses and resistances in play. In the 4-star rank, we have Blastoise, Chansey, Item Finder, and Super Energy Removal from base set, Clefable and Wigglytuff from Jungle, Muck from Fossil, Imposter Oak's Revenge from Team Rocket, the Rocket's Trap from Gym Heroes, Rocket Zapdos and Chaos Gym from Gym Challenge, and a promo Snorlax. These cards are seen as strong in the metagame, and were given a heavy restriction to prevent them from taking over, as they enable brutal combos to lock the opponent out of the game, or are too fast and aggressive to deal with. For example, just like in the current standard format, at the time of making this video, the old Hall of Fame featured a Snorlax in a stall deck, as its Pokemon Power Guard would prevent the opposing Pokemon from retreating, while you use disruption cards like Double Gust and Warp Point to strand Pokemon in the opponent's active spot and leave them unable to attack. Here's a copy of the deck that was used by the player Virgo. In the 3-star rank, we have Feraligatr, Elekid, Tyrogue, Cleffa, and Focus Band from Neo Genesis, and Double Colorless Energy. These cards have been known to be strong, but not as oppressive as previously seen cards. In the 2-star rank, we have Electrode, Electabuzz, Energy Removal, Computer Search, Gust of Wind, and Last from base set, Scyther and Mr. Mime from Jungle, Magmar from Fossil, Pichu, Magby, Recycle Energy, and Goldberry from Neo Genesis, Ghastly from the Vending series, and promo versions of Cleffa, Porygon, and Snorlax. Now we're getting to the cards that are strong, but can be played as a full set of 4 per deck, though with the exclusion of any other Hall of Fame cards, as 4 of these cards would use up all 8 of your stars. A few of these cards were never released in English, so let's take a quick look at them. First off, we have the Vending Series Ghastly, which as the name implies was sold in vending machines in Japan, something that never made it over to Western players. Ghastly comes with the attacks Spookify and Fade to Black. The first attack prevents the opponent from using any trainer cards in their following turn, and the second attack deals 10 damage and inflicts confusion on a coin flip of heads. It's the first attack that makes this Ghastly so strong, as the trainer lock is always a powerful strategy in the game, plus Ghastly could even evolve into a Haunter with the Poltergeist attack, dealing 10 damage for each trainer card in the opponent's hand. I've actually showcased Ghastly and Haunter in a deck on this channel, so check it out here if you want to see it in action. Porygon was a rare promo card that was given to players of the Pokemon Fan Club once they accumulated 700 points, similar to how players could get Porygon in the original video games by collecting 999 coins at the game corner. This Porygon had some pretty unique attacks. The first was All Clear, which would shut off all Pokemon powers for the turn, heal all status conditions, discard all trainer cards in play, like tools and stadiums, and also discard all markers in play, like Porygon's coloring counters, that we'll get to in a bit, and Snorlax's food counters, which we'll be seeing soon. Porygon's second attack was Hyper Conversion, which would target one of the opponent's Pokemon and then place a coloring counter on that Pokemon, representing a different Pokemon type, and then the chosen Pokemon would become that new type. And now Snorlax, also known as Hungry Snorlax, was released with the Pokemon Song Best Collection CD, alongside some other notable Gen 1 Pokemon and its own food counters. It had the attacks Eat, which added a food counter onto Snorlax up to a maximum of 2, and Rollout, which deals 20 damage, plus 30 more damage for each food counter removed from Snorlax. And finally, we move on to the 1-star rank. Here we have Hitmonchan from base set, Psyduck from Fossil, Rocket Sneak Attack from Team Rocket, Misty's Wrath from Gym Heroes, Misty Staryu from Gym Challenge, Meganium, Typhlosion, Double Gust, and Metal Energy from Neo Genesis, Igglybuff from Neo Discovery, Magcargo and Ho-Oh from Neo Revelation, Coughing from the Vending Series, and promos of Smoochum and Igglybuff. Coughing has the Pokemon power Division, activating when he gets damage from an attack, and would search the deck for another Coughing to place onto the bench on a coin flip of heads. Its attack was Strange Gas, which would deal 20 damage and could potentially shut off all the opponent's Pokemon powers on their next turn on a coin flip. And then there's Smoochum, that came with the usual baby power that prevented it from being attacked on a coin flip, and had the attack Blown Kiss, which would place 1 damage counter on one of the opponent's Pokemon. In this rank we have the weakest of the Hall of Famers, and as 1-star cards that can be run as full sets, but doing so would also use up half the allotted stars per deck, so it's important to gauge how many of these cards should be used to make the best use of space. If you're interested in playing this format for yourself, here's some deck lists I found while researching for this video. I was lucky enough to be given this information by Twitter users at Blink1896776651, long name, and at pseudowoodo_poke. First off, we've got a Night Spirits deck by Twitter user at Nicholas_say. This deck focuses on dealing a lot of damage with Sabrina's Haunter, and the Hall of Fame cards are the 2 Focus Bands, which are 3 stars apiece, and 2 Double Gusts, worth 1 star apiece. Then we've got Blaine's Charizard with Chansey by Udo. Chansey is worth 4 stars, and there are 4 Metal Energies, each worth 1 star apiece. This deck appears to focus on stall and control to deny the opponent KOs and eventually run them out of resources. And then we have Alakazam by @stone_easy on Twitter, with the Hall of Fame cards being both of the Super Energy removals, each worth 4 stars. I actually really like this deck because of the inclusion of the Japanese promo Alakazam. This card was given to players in the Evolution Communication campaign, which asked players to mail in a copy of a Kadabra card along with Bill's PC to receive this Alakazam in exchange, mimicking the way that Kadabra evolves through trading in the video games. Alakazam has 2 attacks. The first is Psycho Panic, which needs 2 Psychic Energies to deal 30 damage, but if the opposing Pokemon is a Psychic type as well, the damage is doubled. And because Psychic Pokemon are usually weak to other Psychics, the damage would double again because of the weakness, meaning that this card could deal 120 damage for only 2 energy. And the second attack was Trans Damage, which needed 3 Psychic Energies to move all damage from Alakazam onto the opponent's Pokemon, perfectly blending offense and healing into one move, though it did have to discard all its energy to use the attack. This attack combos really well with the original Alakazam, because you could move as much damage on your side as possible onto the promo Alakazam, and then move all that damage to the opponent, taking KOs and healing your own Pokemon. And there we go, a quick overview of the new Hall of Fame format. But there are actually several different Hall of Fame formats throughout Japan, each with their own rankings, which makes it possible to run different types of decks. So, let's go over some of those next. 3 years after the creation of the new Hall of Fame, Pokemon player 708 created their own format, which grew to be known as the Suginami Hall of Fame, named after the location of the event, Suginami Ward, Tokyo. Here we have the 2020 version of the list, though it was updated every year before being discontinued in 2023. We can see here that the rankings for a number of cards are different from the new Hall of Fame rankings, although Dark Vileplume does retain its 8 stars, which, spoiler alert, all the lists will have Dark Vileplume as an 8-star card. It's just too strong. In the 6-star rank, we have some new additions in Unknown U from Neo Discovery and Ammonite from the Vending series. Unknown's Pokemon Power Undo, when combined with Unknown N, D, and O, allow the player to continuously pick up their active Pokemon, essentially acting as a free scoop up every turn. Ammonite has the Pokemon Power Fossil Guidance, which allows the player to retrieve a discarded mysterious fossil back into the hand on a successful coin flip, and it can then be used as knockout fodder every turn that doesn't give up a prize. In the 4-star rank, we have Misty, which can help enable a first-turn kill strategy with Misty, Staryu, and Plus Power to quickly win the game if the opponent only has a single Pokemon, similar to Erika's Jigglypuff. New cards in the 3-star rank are Alakazam and the Japanese-exclusive Pokemon Chansey. Chansey has the attacks Lucky Egg and Lucky Punch, potentially allowing the player to drop to 2 cards from the deck or deal up to 40 damage, both on a coin flip. New cards in the 2-star rank are Shining Raichu, Unknown Q, Tyrogue, and Tickling Machine. Tyrogue and Unknown Q both have an ability that helps protect them from attacks. the Baby power for Tyrogue, and the Quicken Pokemon power for Unknown, letting these Pokemon help stall out turns. Tickling Machine can be used to help enable deck-out strategies against the opponent when combined with Imposter Professor Oak. And Shining Raichu could be combined with Electrode to quickly power it up and could deal a lot of damage to both the opponent's active Pokemon and one of their benched Pokemon. And finally, in the 1-star rank, we have Dark Weezing, Erica's Victory Bell, Dark Crobat, Magby, Lilypad Mew, Imakuni's Doduo, Blissey, Promo Lugia, Murkrow, Steelix, Pokemon Center, Scoop Up, and Fossil Egg. Promo Lugia was another Japanese exclusive card that was released alongside Great Rocket's Mewtwo and the Pokemon Trading Card Game 2 for the Game Boy Color, and had the attack Aeroblast, which could deal up to 60 damage depending on the result of 2 coin flips. And funnily enough, when Imakuni's Doduo was originally printed, it was never meant to be used, as its Pokemon power and attack asked the player to throw away their card or to sing to their opponent. The rules of the Sugami format specify you don't have to sing to inflict damage, though it is encouraged at least a little bit. And using the Pokemon power does not require the player to throw the card away, so it basically does nothing, it's just meant to be a joke. Eventually this card was printed in English in the XY Evolution set, where it also says that this card cannot be used in official tournaments. Now let's take a look at some decks from the Sugami Hall of Fame. First off, we've got Wigglytuff and Dark Gengar by the player Udo, using Wigglytuff, Double Gust, and Double Colorless Energy as the Hall of Fame cards, each one being worth 1 star. This is a pretty standard deck, focusing on Wigglytuff to dish out big damage with a full bench, and Dark Gengar can help out by keeping the opponent asleep with its Pokemon power. Then we have the Houndoom and Umbreon deck by Udo, which aim to set up quickly and take knockouts against basic and baby Pokemon before they got a chance to evolve. And the Hall of Fame are Last, worth 3 stars, Computer Search, worth 2 stars, and 3 Double Gust, each worth 1 star. And last off for the Sugami Hall of Fame, we have Arcanine and Electrode by Ymir the Mirror, I hope I pronounced that right, focusing on quickly powering up an Arcanine using Electrode as energy acceleration and dealing fast damage. The Hall of Fame cards in this deck are the Electrode, worth 2 stars apiece, and 3 Metal Energy and the Double Gust, each worth 1 star. As we saw, the Sugami Hall of Fame had quite a few differences from the new Hall of Fame, but like I said before, it has been discontinued in Japan, with players now focusing on other Hall of Fame formats, but I wanted to mention it here just to give another alternative to players looking to experience something new. Next up, let's check out the Takatsuki Hall of Fame, played in the Sudagaya shop in Takatsuki. By this point, there aren't a whole lot of new cards that we haven't seen before. It's mostly the same established powerhouses that we've seen on other lists, though some of the rankings might be a bit different. One of the new cards is the Promo Eevee as the 2-star card, whose Pokemon power lets it evolve when any other Pokemon on its side evolves. And then we have the Vending Series Haunter, which I briefly mentioned back in the new Hall of Fame portion. In the Takatsuki Hall of Fame, Haunter has been given 1 star, so it can't be abused alongside Dark Vileplume. If you want to see some sample Takatsuki format decks, here are 3 by the player Ymir the Mirror, who has built a lot of Takatsuki decks, so be sure to check out their lists online. I'll link them down in the description below. First off, we have a Steelix deck alongside some Psychic Pokemon for support, using 3 Metal Energy and 2 Vending Haunter, each worth 1 star, and a 3-star Jungle Mr. Mime as its Hall of Fame cards. The next deck features Alakazam, Koga's Muck, Forretress, and Mr. Mime, focusing on switching between attackers depending on the situation, and using Alakazam to move damage away from vulnerable Pokemon. And then Fuchsia City Gym can shuffle away damaged Pokemon, acting as a reliable source of recovery throughout the game. The Hall of Fame cards in this deck are the Mr. Mime, worth 3 stars, Recycle Energy, worth 2 stars, and both the Alakazam and the Smoochum, worth 1 star each. And then we have the Nidorina and Dark Crobat deck. This deck uses a Vending Series Nidorina, as it has the Strengthened Numbers attack, allowing the player to potentially hit it for up to 60 damage for only 2 energy by filling the bench with Nido Pokemon. Dark Crobat is a great support Pokemon to deal additional damage as necessary with its Pokemon power. The Hall of Fame cards here are the Dark Crobat and 3 Rocket Sneak Attack, each worth 1 star, and 2 Gust of Wind, each worth 2 stars. Okay, on to the next Hall of Fame format, this time the Nagoya Hall of Fame, played in the Toreka Camp shop in Nagoya. Again, we see a lot of the same cards in somewhat similar placements, though there are some differences here, such as Chaos Gym joining Dark Vileplume in an 8-star rank. New cards that we haven't seen before are both Noctowl and Trash Exchange as 1-star cards. One thing that really stands out to me in this Hall of Fame is that they do not like trainer lock strategies. Anti-trainer cards have been given an increased star ranking compared to other lists, such as the aforementioned Chaos Gym, but also Last going up to 4 stars, Vending Ghastly to 3 stars, Psyduck as 2 stars, and the addition of Noctowl, whose Glaring Gaze Pokemon power can strip trainer cards away from the opponent's hand. So if you enjoy playing trainer lock decks, the Nagoya Hall of Fame might not be for you. Now let's see some decks. First off, we have one of my favorites, Dark Raichu and Great Rocket's Mewtwo by Goose_Camo on Twitter. This deck focuses on spreading damage with Dark Raichu and increasing its attack power with Mewtwo's Dark Wave Pokemon power. The Hall of Fame cards are Great Rocket's Mewtwo, worth 6 stars, and Pichu, worth 2. Then we have Blastoise and Misty's Poliwrath by Utsuko, using a combination of strong water Pokemon to overwhelm the opponent. The Hall of Fame cards are the 2 Blastoise, Gust of Wind, and Computer Search, each worth 2 stars. And then we have Giovanni's Nidoking and Dark Crobat by @ma_ko_mart on Twitter. This deck uses the Japanese exclusive Nidoking that has the Pokemon Power Command to increase the attack power of all Giovanni's male Nidoran and Nidorino by 10, and the attack Rumble, which would deal 50 damage and also prevent the opponent's Pokemon from retreating on the following turn. This deck focused on boosting Nidorino's attack power with Nidoking's ability and Dark Crobat's snipe damage to take quick KOs. And the Hall of Fame here are the 2 Gust of Wind, worth 2 stars each, and Dark Crobat alongside 3 copies of Double Colorless Energy, each being worth 1 star. And now let's move on to the next Hall of Fame format, known as the Uzumaki Hall of Fame, played in the Big Magic Shop in Namba, Osaka. Admittedly, there's not a whole lot to say here that hasn't been said about the other lists. This one is pretty standard for the most part. And that's something you'll notice about these formats, is that they more or less agree on the power level of most of the cards, with a few exceptions now and then. The new card in the Uzumaki Hall of Fame is the Japanese exclusive card Dark Fiero, ranked as a 1-star card. This Dark Fiero was released alongside the official guidebook for the Pokemon Trading Card Game 2, and had the attacks Fly High, which needs 1 colorless energy to double the attack power of its Drill Dive on the following turn, and Drill Dive, which needs 2 colorless energies to deal 40 damage at the cost of being unable to use Drill Dive or retreat on the following turn. And now let's see some decks from this format. First off, we've got Electabuzz and Muk by Goose_Camo, which also uses Rocket Zapdos and Vending Series Zapdos as backup attackers. This Japanese Zapdos has the attack Raging Thunder, which deals 50 damage and also damages one of its own teammates for 30 damage on a coin flip of tails. It also has the attack Thunder Crash, which deals 50 damage plus potentially 20 more damage on a coin flip of heads, but would damage itself for 20 damage if it got tails. The Hall of Fame cards in this deck are Muk, worth 5 stars, and Rocket Zapdos, Goldberry, and Metal Energy, each worth 1 star. Next, we have the Typhlosion Magcargo deck by the player Tadachiyo. This deck uses 3 Typhlosion and 3 Magcargo, each worth 1 star, and Gust of Wind, worth 2 stars. This is your typical attach a lot of energy and discard for big damage kind of deck, with Typhlosion providing energy acceleration and Magcargo taking the KOs. And then we have the Blastoise and Feraligatr deck by the player Nafuda, with Feraligatr worth 5 stars, Blastoise worth 2, and Magby worth 1. This deck uses Blastoise's energy acceleration to quickly fuel Feraligatr's Riptide attack for quick knockouts, although Blastoise also works as an attacker when necessary. The next Hall of Fame format is known as the Hadat 2 Hall of Fame, named after the shop where it is played, Haruya 2, located in Akihabara. Right away, we can see some unique things about the Hadat 2 Hall of Fame. For the first time, Erika's Jigglypuff has joined Dark Vileplume as an 8-star card. Next, we can see that this is the only list with 7-star cards, with Muk and Aerodactyl sharing that rank. Most of the rest of this list is your standard fare at this point, and then we see some new cards in the 1-star rank, where we see 2 different Ditto cards, the Fossil Ditto and the Japanese Vending Series Ditto. This Ditto has the Pokemon power Amazing Transformation, which can be activated if Ditto is the active Pokemon, and in a coin flip of heads can treat itself as any Pokemon in play, and any energy attached to Ditto is treated as a Rainbow Energy instead. Because the ability doesn't specify that you have to copy one of your opponent's Pokemon, you can use it to copy one of your own higher ranked Pokemon instead, or even a Shining Pokemon, giving you a way to get around the 1 Shining Pokemon per deck rule. A fun combo you can use is to transform your Ditto into a Shining Gyarados, and then with Blastoise's Rain Dance, you can attach 4 Water Energy onto it, as it now counts as a Water-type Pokemon. And because Ditto treats every energy as a Rainbow Energy, you can have access to both of Shining Gyarados' attacks in a single turn. Some decks to try out for the Hadat 2 Hall of Fame include Dark Dragonite and Noctowl by player KG, with the Hall of Fame cards being 4 Noctowl, 2 Recycle Energy, and 2 Goldberry, each card being worth 1 star apiece. This deck uses Noctowl to rip trainer cards out of the opponent's hand, and Dark Dragonite to deal big damage with his attack. Then we've got Typhlosion and Dodrio by Goose_Camo, and this deck uses both versions of Typhlosion from Neo Genesis, as they can both be used as energy accelerators and attackers, and Hyper Devolution Spray can recycle Fire Boost. The Hall of Fame cards in this deck are the 2 copies of Gust of Wind and 2 copies of Double Gust, each being worth 2 stars. And the last deck that we have for today is Venomoth and Aerodactyl by Blink. This deck focuses on using Venomoth as the main attacker. As its Pokemon powers shift, lets it change its typing to any other type besides colorless, meaning that it can always hit for weakness. To make up for its weak attack, it partners with the Neo Revelation Aerodactyl, whose Pokemon power Prehistoric Memory lets other Pokemon use the attacks of their pre-evolved forms, so Venomoth could use the Vending Series Venonat's Psybeam attack to deal 40 damage, plus the potential of inflicting confusion. And now onto the final format, the Play Gym Hall of Fame, played in the Play Gym Tokyo shop. This is the newest Hall of Fame format, so I couldn't find a whole lot of information about it online. It's different from the rest of the formats, as it goes back to using the 4-star system that was originally used in official tournaments, as opposed to the 8-star systems that modern formats use. Because this format is so new, there are not a whole lot of articles showcasing decks for it, but hopefully that will change in the near future, as this looks to be an interesting Hall of Fame to visit, as it returns to limiting the decks to only 4 ranked cards, which forces players to be more strategic with their choices. And there we go, the various Hall of Fame formats currently played in Japan. To be honest, these formats look to be a lot of fun, as they give a lot of previously overlooked cards a new chance at life, and it's also a refreshing way to replay the first 2 generations of the Pokemon TCG. If these formats seemed interesting to you, I highly suggest checking them out. I'll leave all the links to the sites and deck lists I featured down in the description below. And if you guys would like to see some Hall of Fame gameplay on this channel, let me know down in the comments, along with which Hall of Fame or deck you'd like for us to feature, and we'll see if we can make it work. And like always, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. I put a lot of work into this video, so I would really appreciate the support. That's gonna do it for today. Thanks a lot for watching, and until next time, this is the Holland Phantom logging out.